Great. Okay, so this is the True North Caricature Carvers, our February 17th meeting. For John Paul's on the line, obviously, as I am. Those are our email addresses if you ever want to touch base with us. A few of you have had, and feel free to touch base with us every day if you like. We enjoy seeing what you're doing and enjoy hearing about your questions or your tips. From tonight's standpoint, we'll do a little bit of a welcome. We'll start off in the same way, and that'll just be open for questions and any comments that anybody has in general or with respect to our last meeting. John has picked up on the notion that Daniel started with us the other day in terms of a book review, and John has a caricature illustration book that he's going to spend a couple minutes talking about, which is going to be really interesting. Alec is going to be talking to us about his carving technique and just give us an overview of how he approaches carving and a little bit of a panorama of what he's got going on in his shop. Many of you have sent in photos now of your carvings, the projects that you're working on, and potentially ones you're going to put in our little competition and show. And so we'll take a look at those. If they're work in progress, John and I might have a couple comments, as everybody on the line might have, in terms of ideas to improve it before showtime. If it's completed, we won't make those comments. We'll just let you talk about it, because we're going to do that critique next time with all of the finished carvings during our show. And then the piece that we call tips, chips, and tricks, which is very difficult to say. I challenge you all to say that. Dave is here, and he's going to talk to us about dust control. We talked last time about different methods of managing dust, and David was telling us of a couple of contraptions that he made to help him manage dust in the shop, and he's forwarded a few photos, and we'll take a look at those along with his description. Furtis has also been doing a little work and picked up on a suggestion last time around assembling arms and how to just reduce those small fibers that you get sometimes when you carve prior to painting. And so he's doing a little bit experimenting with that, and he's going to talk about that. And John Paul has put a few slides together around some painting options, a different way to get a sense of how you want to paint your carving before you actually commit to painting it. Okay, so that's what we're going to work with.
Quiet crowd.
Quiet crowd. They're actually, everybody has CBC on right now, and they're watching CBC off to the right. Okay, so we're going to get started. And John, why don't you get us started by talking about your book review? And I have 4 slides here, and you want me to just raise the first one up?
Yes, please.
There you go.
Okay, I was watching that International Wood Carvers, I guess it would be a show, I guess it'd be. And this one guy was Dale Green. He's a wood carver, and he was doing, he was showing us books on, you wouldn't want to be in the Boston Tea Party, and all these caricature books. So I went and bought some, and are they ever good? They're really amazing. They're very informative. There's it's like histories, like the ones on the ones you see right now, one out west. It's all about historical stuff, and the pictures and the colors are just amazing. So these are the characters that the artist or the illustrator is David Attram. And it's exactly how, the stuff that we do as caricature carvers. It's all about history, to give you the history. So if you're like what I do, if I'm doing a carving, say of a Mountie or something, I will look for all kinds of information about a Mountie, and maybe watch a TV show about Mounties while I'm carving a Mountie. It's just, I just get into that Mountie feeling type thing. But this is but they're all different. Give me that. Oh, you got the next slide. Good. Yeah, look at the colors. And when you're painting a carving, you're painting a cowboy or something, you look for these books. And I got these on Amazon. I think they were $10 a piece. 10, $11 a piece. But beautiful, beautiful. The colors. And if you want to read about a subject, like there's Out West, Wild Wild West, Boston Tea Party, Pyramid Builder, Medieval Knight, American Pioneers, Viking Explorers, like, and they all have an index with different animal skins and all. It's like a history book, but it's in a caricature form. It's really, I think they're amazing, and that's my review. And if you're interested in getting those magazines, look on Amazon, and they're within a week or so you get them.
Hey, John, it's Daniel. What's does it have a main title and then like how does the titles work?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be then it's whatever, right? You wouldn't want to be
West. Yeah. So if
you wouldn't want to be.
If you were on Amazon, if you typed in you wouldn't want to be, and then the whole list would probably come up.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And just the colors. The colors are amazing. And if you want to do any Viking explorer stuff, or Vikings, or medieval guys, knights, you can't go wrong for $10.
Okay,
That's my review.
any other comments or questions for John?
Oh, the illustrator, we got to look for the illustrated by David Antrim, because he has another guy, Mark Bergen, but he's not as good as this guy. It's not as detailed. I happen to get this Mark Bergen. It's not as detailed as the other ones. So you gotta look for that guy. It's David Antrim is the illustrator.
That looks really interesting.
I would recommend him.
Yeah, that looks.
I would
really
recommend it.
Yeah, right down to the clothes and everything would be worthwhile, right?
And the expressions that we're looking for, expressions to make a carving. You know, if you're mad or surprised or whatever, smiling, it's all kinds of different expressions you can pick up on and add to your carving to get the point across of what you want to make, which are the feeling of your carving.
Right.
I would recommend them.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Okay, in my haste to get to John, I went over the part around open for questions and comments in general. So if you have any questions for John or any comments or questions in general, now's the time to just chat about that before we get on to the rest of the agenda.
Mark, it's Lloyd. I just had a question. When you're doing something like that, if you're using somebody's picture, do you contact them to get permission, or do you just give them credit for the actual drawing in that?
I wouldn't use I wouldn't use the exact, I wouldn't do the same carving myself. I don't.
Okay.
I don't copy. I just wanted to get the colors, or I wouldn't play the guy in the coffin. I wouldn't make a coffin with a guy in it. I would, unless you ask the guy, I guess I ask for permission, but it's mainly for instruction and
inspiration.
Ideas, inspiration.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, the copyright, and like we can't do that to other artists.
Yeah, I heard it and it explained in an interesting way once, and I can't remember who did it. It'll probably be copyright infringement by not knowing who said this, but he was saying that the way he does it, and I picked up on it for myself, is that you take a look at the picture as much as you want, and say, okay, there's the guy in the coffin, and I'm going to do something along those lines, and then you put it away. You don't sit there and pore over it and say, okay, now I got to make my knife cut here. Now I got to make you put it away. You have that thought in your mind. And then now whatever you make, it's your carving.
Yeah,
you know, because it's not going to be a complete copy, right? Does that make sense, John?
Yep, you wouldn't want that done to yourself. Like you wouldn't want to do a carving and have the exact same one. It shows up on a website or something, right? You want, because that's your property.
Yeah, yeah. It happens though, you know, and
Oh, it
and,
happens.
it
Unless you
happens.
want it.
Yeah, it
Unless you-
happens. Yeah, I've never seen anybody get too uptight about it. I have received a couple notes from people saying, would you mind doing this, as if I owned, you know, a picture of a Christmas bell or something, right? And I said, of course, go ahead and do it, right? And I think
It's nice. Nice
I
to
think
contact you.
it is, yeah, yeah, and it's a nice compliment too, you know, if somebody
Yeah,
wants
for
to
sure.
use some of your artwork.
Okay. Doug here. Just wanted to suggest, I think what I've also seen in the past in regards to that too, is it makes a big difference too if you're doing it for personal or if you're doing it for sale.
Right,
If you're doing
right.
it for personal, then I don't think there's really any restrictions. If you want to mass produce it, then you've got a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you start selling it.
yeah, that's a good point, Doug. Okay,
Highly,
any
highly
other,
recommended.
good review, John. Any other questions for John, or just questions or comments in general about what we're doing before we keep going through the agenda?
Yeah, Peter Finley,
Mhm.
hello.
Yep.
I would like to make a comment. Last time we were on, we talked about Howard's feet and wax. And I was just finishing up a project where I would usually use a very complicated mixture of linseed oil. And I went out and bought a bottle of it, and it's fantastic. I love it. It adds a nice color. It doesn't smell like my mixture. It dries quickly. It really enhances the wood. So that was a tip I picked up from the last Zoom.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
that was Richard that gave us that tip. I don't know if Richard's on the line tonight. Richard might not be on the line tonight.
Okay, this is Richard Cook. No, I was asking for help, and that is one of the comments that came out. I also went and bought it and have tried it on a series or a spoon with a Valentine heart, and it is really nice. I'm extremely pleased, and thank you whoever came forward with that.
Yeah, that was Richard Holden that joined us last time. I hope he's back for our subsequent meetings. So it's funny that he mentioned that at our last get together, and then I started to see it everywhere, and I don't know whether I'd always seen it and never thought of it before. But it's a liquid, is it? It's very liquidy, is that right?
It's kind of an emulsion. It's fairly thick, but it's it goes on like whipped cream, and you just rub it in and leave it for 20 minutes, and then come back and wipe it off and polish it, and it's very, very nice to work with. I bought mine at Home Hardware for $13.95.
And it's not, it doesn't buff to a gloss or anything like that, is that right?
It's a nice soft sheen. It's certainly not a high gloss.
Very good.
What was the name of it? What was the name of the product?
Howard Feed and Wax. Howard-N-Wax. It's a combination of beeswax, carbon wax, and orange oil.
Huh,
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll all have to try that. That's great.
good sharing.
Yeah. Any other comments, questions?
I was just going to say with the Howard's Feed and Wax too, I find that if you put it on with one of those sponge brushes, it really gets into those little small areas without
yeah.
flooding the rest of the carving kind of thing. Because when I first did it, I put it on with the cloth, and it was a lot of wax. But because it, as somebody mentioned, it does have like an emulsive type quantity or quality to it. But yeah, those little sponge brushes really get it into those tough to reach areas, and then just a nice brush gets it out nicely after.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
It'll be interesting to see if that's something that you're going to need to touch up at some time in the future, like whether it'll dry out or whether it'll it'll, you know, last the life of the carving. So that'll be interesting.
Daniel here. I've been using it for probably more 8 or 9 years, and there's we have a couple of antiques that I use it on our semi-regular basis, and it goes on real quick and easy, and it's just a nice shine, doesn't sort of, you know, knock you down. I really, really like it. It's a good product.
Oh, I'm glad we ended up talking about that. I'm going to try that myself. That's good.
Daniel, does it darken with age?
No. No, it does not. No.
Okay, that's great, everybody. Thank you very much for that discussion. So Alec Pritchard has put together a little review for us on how he approaches carving. Alec, I only have this one slide, so I'll put it up for now and you can use it anytime you want. So I'm going to stop screen sharing here. And I should be able to just sit here and hand it over to you, Alec.
Hey, hello, everybody.
Very good.
I'm Alec Pritchard. I'm in Elora, Ontario. And am I coming up on everybody's screen there?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, good, because I have John now, but I had Mark earlier. Anyways, I'm just going to show you what I use here, and everybody carves differently than others. I've seen a lot of carvers do different ways of doing things, and you kind of hone into your own to make it good for yourself, whatever you get used to. But every time I come into my shop, I put my leather apron on, kind of a safety thing. And then if I'm gonna carve small stuff, I have 3 different types of gloves. I have 2 that are cut level 5, and they're kind of, anybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
And they're cut level. You can still stab through them, but the odd time you go through them, and luckily you don't bleed a whole bunch, but when you do, you end up, I sew them up with needle and thread so I can use them another day rather than wrap stuff like tape on them. Other than that, the tools that I used to use flex cut, and I still do use some of them, but I upgraded to 2 cherries. They're very nice. I bought a webcam, but it's not working for some reason. Anyway, there's my, I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yep, I see it.
Yep.
Okay.
Very good.
These actually really brought me to the next level. They cut clean. They're very sharp. They stay sharp. I use the rotating leather strop from Chipping Away, and the maple wheel for the insides of the gouges and D-tools. And they're very good, and that helps me keep everything sharp. Before I start a project, I make sure I sharpen everything, go through the whole box, and everything's nice and sharp so I can carve for hours. What else? How I start a project is, actually, here's one here. This one here, and I just pick it up off of Pinterest. It was a picture of a horse, which is there.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that horse. And then there's a picture of a cowgirl that I got off of Pinterest as well. And it is right there. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what I do, I'm not an excellent artist like John is, but I take my graph paper. It's just 1/4-inch graph paper, and I trace the front face, and then I draw it on the side to get my profile.
Right.
Okay. And you have to draw it a little bit. You take your time, you can get fairly close. And the better your drawing is, better it turns out for the carving as well. And then I put it on cereal box.
Hmm.
So then I can just trace it onto a piece of wood. And then I put it in a Ziploc bag and I stick it in my file. I have it forever. And another thing that I found recently is I did a bunch of Disney characters. I think there's a picture there that Mark showed earlier. But it's called Model Sheet, and it's on Pinterest. And they were like I did Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and Pluto. And they're a pretty fun thing to do. But the model sheet came out. It had the front view, it had the side view and the rear view, and views on angles. So I just copy and print, and then I make my patterns, and I don't have to draw anything. It's quick, it's easy. And then when you start carving, like when I get to the carving part, I seldom use a knife. I mostly use gouges and chisels, V-tools. I carve a lot quicker. And I also use a vernier. A vernier is one of my best tools because if I do an arm or a leg and I start carving the left leg and I want them to be the same size. I want them to look alike. So the vernier is awesome. And even the picture that you print off your printer, you can take your vernier and measure the size of the leg on the print and go to your carving. And then you can make sure it's all the same size. And that really helps. I also get pictures off, like if you're doing a picture of say the cowgirl, I'll take different pictures of cowboy boots in different angles, and that way you can visualize what you're seeing, and it helps your carving go a lot easier. And once I get down to the end, I like to smooth it all off with a flat skew. And then for the areas that are difficult, like cross grains and such, I use my Dremel tools. And I have a Weecher and a smaller one. I forget the name of it, but it's a smaller one. And for when I'm using them, I use my dust control. I have I'm just going to take you over there. I have a bandsaw right in the carving room. Everybody see that?
Yep.
You see that? And then there's right behind it is my central vac. I didn't want it in my room because it's noisy, but the basement's finished here and I didn't want to tear into walls, so I just put it in the room. So I have it here on a right on the wall. Anybody see that?
Yep.
And then it's just a toggle. Let me give you an idea of the noise level. But I plug it right into my bandsaw. I'm not sure you can see that or not.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, plug it in there when I'm using the bandsaw. And then when I'm using it on my Dremel, I have this plate, and you just hook the hose into it. And that's your top side. And you just lay it on your lap and plug it in and start using your Dremel tool. So that keeps my dust down in the shop here and makes it a lot nicer for cleanup. I don't like to clean up as often as I carve, but I do clean up once a month or so. And I also have I have two desks. One is for carving, and the desk I'm at now is for burning and painting. And design work, I guess. Also, while I got everybody's attention, Zen and Gowl sent me a note today and asked me to mention the Art in the Park at the Rim Park this June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And he hopes that everybody will attend or bring carvings in.
We're going to talk a little bit about your method of painting as well, Alec.
Oh, my method of painting, that is my, I struggle with painting as far as I'm concerned. I get a lot of compliments, but when I see other people's, like when I do a carving, I'll burn it to show outline edges, and I like that so the paint won't bleed from one side to the other. And when I use the washes, a wash will run quickly. So you have to be very careful. And sometimes on a wash, you'll have up to 7 coats to get the color that you want. You still want to see the grain, and then you end up hiding it because if it runs onto another color, then you have to pull that other color out again. So I need to learn a lot about painting. But I've got, I use the, actually, can you see the painting, the paint there?
Yep.
That's my paint tray. And that's the type of paint I use, the acrylic. I water it down pretty good. But what I do, I'll have 3 or 4 carvings, and then I'll take a few days, maybe 3 days, and say, I'm gonna do my painting now. But if I'm not in the mood, you can't do that. You just don't bother with it. Excuse me. There, what else? Any questions on anything?
What was the name of
What was the name of
the tool?
which tool?
The tools that you use?
The type of carving tools I use?
Correct, yeah.
They are 2 cherries. And I buy them at Chipping Away.
Thank you.
Yeah. They're around $43, $45 a piece.
Hi, you mentioned the event in the park in June.
Yes.
Where is that? What town? I didn't catch that
It's
at the
in
start.
Waterloo, Waterloo, Ontario. If you look it up on the computer, it's off of University Avenue, and the main junction would be Northfield Drive, I believe. But it's easy for me to get to because I live like 40 minutes away. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be a big show this year because we haven't had one. And people are allowed to put carvings in from 2019 on.
What was the name of the event again? I'm sorry.
Art in the Park. Now, Zenon called it something different. I'm just going to look up the email. Okay, he's called it Canadian National Wood Art Competition. But we generally call it Art in the Park. We've called it Art in the Park since it went over there.
I think, Alec, that historically they've had kind of 2 carving shows kind of combined into one. One is for wildfowl and bird carvers, and the other is for general carvers like ourselves, which would include caricatures and relief and figures and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So so I hope they're able to do that again this year in the same fashion, because it is a really good show and it's a big show.
It is a big show. I believe Zenon is the president of the Grand River Carvers, and he's in charge of that show this year.
Good.
Yeah.
You sounded
Okay.
like Ed Sullivan there, Mark.
Sorry?
You sounded like Ed Sullivan there for a second. Really big show.
Really
Really
big
big
shoe.
shoe.
Really big shoe. Yeah. Yeah. Any other comments or questions for Alec? Okay, let me just put up that picture here again, Alec, and if you wanted to say anything about those two.
Oh, I started carving a hockey player, but the Disney characters, when we were talking earlier about infringement rights and should you ask permission, you can take 20 carvers and put a Mickey Mouse in front of them, and I don't think you'll ever have two alike. So it's kind of a catch-22. You know, are you infringing on them, or are you using their ideas? I tend to agree with what Mark said. It's more or less a compliment.
Yeah.
If you're carving something that someone else has done. Like I did quite a few carvings with Eldon Humphreys, and like he had classes that were 16 people in them, and no two looked alike. Everyone was different.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And to Doug's earlier point too, Alec, you know, you're not selling these are for your own enjoyment, possibly a gift for a grandchild or something, you know.
If I sell something, it's something that somebody has come to me and they've asked, I want a caricature of so-and-so.
Yeah.
And I will do caricatures of people that I know.
Yeah.
And or people I don't know. They just give me a picture and I will do a caricature of them. And I do charge them for it. But it's nothing that anybody else has done before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the one beside it is it's a hockey player. So I only had the front face of it. It was pretty difficult to start. I tried different times to draw the profile and couldn't. So I drew it on the front face and started carving it. And can you see that one there?
No, it looks good.
That's where I've ended up with it so far. So it's going to take some more time to finish it off, but that's once in a while I get, so I don't know what it is. I'm not in the mood for drawing, or I just can't seem to grasp it. But when you start carving, it all comes together.
Starts coming, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Alec. That was really interesting. I really appreciate you doing that for us.
You're welcome. Hope everybody pulled something out of it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on if I can. Let's see if I can. There we are. So let's talk about the projects that people have sent me in photos on, and some of which hopefully will go into, they'll want to enter into our upcoming show. Just as a reminder, the timeline was such that we said, let's try to get our carvings entered by the end of this month. And that'll give John and I a little bit of time between, you know, the end of the month and our next TNCC call to do a little bit of judging. You know, if you go over the February 27th, it's not going to be the end of the world. When John and I actually figure out the date we're going to get together to do the judging, I'll let everybody know so that, you know, you've had an ample chance to get your carvings in. And remember, it's just a fun thing that we're doing here. And so don't be timid about sending your carvings in to enter them. Okay, so Bob, you resent this one. We had seen it before, but you had done a little bit of work on it, I guess.
Yes, I sort of rounded it off a little bit like your suggestion, and it looks a little better now.
Good. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah.
Paul Acton. Paul is on the line today, and he started a really interesting project. Paul, you might want to talk about this one. I have this slide and another slide with the carving a little further along. I thought Paul was on. If he is on and just having trouble with his microphone, he can jump in when he figures that out. So he sent me a little note. He saw this as just the photo that you see, a little cartoon or comic. He had a very large chunk of basswood that he just sketched this or traced this carving picture and put it on the basswood and then sent it to the to the he doesn't have a bandsaw, so he lives in a condo, and so he cut that out by hand and started roughing it out on the left, you see, and you can see how nicely it's coming on the right. It looks really, really smart. You know, I can see that he did it all in one piece, and that makes complete sense to me, because you can see just the depth of this sleeve. He's got a lot of strength in that sleeve. It's not as if it's a skinny extended arm that's going to be broken off. And the other arm, of course, is very close to the monk's cloak. So he's doing a really nice job on that. And I'm hoping he comes along in the next few weeks so he can enter this in our show. It's really
That
looking
looks great. He's
I
really
think
done a nice job, doesn't
I
it?
think it looks really smart. Yeah,
Yeah.
really captured that. Now, I don't know if David Boring is on the line tonight. David sent in 3 pictures, and I had a little chat with him, and you know, we talked about the fact that our show is really going to be about caricatures, and it's about exaggerated figures and whatnot. So this really doesn't fit the classification or category of caricature that you'd see in any of the live shows. But I wanted to show you these pictures because they're just beautiful carvings. So this one is, of course, is a leopard frog. And then he did 2 others, kind of abstract. One he calls Lady with Voluminous Hair, and the other is Repose. And so all pieces are 4 to 5 inches in the base, and they're all made of basswood. He's done a really nice job. And Fergus sent in a few pictures for us. Fergus, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so so this is the pattern that I use from the book I have from Dave Stetson. It's the Caricature Carving from head to toe. So he goes step by step in that book how to carve this caricature, and I followed that. So this is a block. So again, the head I carved separate and the hands that I carved separate. I'm going to talk about that in the tips section today. And then the base is also separate. The block of wood that I used, it was just for the body by itself. It was like 4.5 inches by 3 inches by 8 inches high. And I cut the pattern on the bandsaw. So the pattern he has in the book, I enlarged it by 33%. I just wanted a little bit bigger piece. And then I started carving. I had a lot of fun with he has a kind of a pattern for the hands as well. So I also enlarged the hands and started carving and followed the steps. And you know, this is what I got. And then I kind of I also used the Howard Eden wax on this carving, and I also really liked it. It smells really good, and yeah, so that's what I got.
It's looking really good. So you did you didn't do the arms separately because they're tight into the body. There's a lot of strength there, right?
Yeah. So the hands, the arms are part of the whole body. It's just the hands are separate and the head is separate.
Very good, Fergus. Thanks.
Thank you.
Kevin, you sent us in a good one here.
Well, I decided I would give a try of making a caricature with including some arms and some other things. Some of your carvings, Mark, were my inspiration for this. So just sort of flipping around, actually where it did come from was I saw that there was an app that you could take a picture of yourself and it would put your face in the spot in the middle there. And I thought, oh, barbecue, that'd be kind of fun. So I just started looking for barbecue pictures. And so this one here, it's called the 5-second rule. You can barely see it on the guy's apron, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to be able to put all the different pieces. It's got the sausage there, and I tried to make it look like the grill marks are happening on it. Yeah. But yeah, so it's complete.
I like the look on the dog's face.
Yeah, actually the one pattern I wanted to use, I couldn't find it. I knew I had it somewhere. And wouldn't you figure when this is finished, I found it. But it would have been, I was going to put one of the sausages on the ground and have the dog with his nose into the ground.
Yeah.
And then, but anyway, this kind of works too, the same way. And then I
Oh.
did some wood burning on the, that's how I got the patio stones, was wood burn.
Mhm. And you just twisted some wire together for the tools.
Yeah, yeah, wire together to make them work. And so that was fun. And if you actually get the chance, which of course you can't in the photograph, but there's actually briquettes inside the barbecue. And so it looks like there's briquettes in there with a little bit of white around the edges. Just
Oh,
you
good.
got the heat, you got the heat happening.
Oh, that's really good. That's good. Very good, Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks.
My system's a little slow. Here we are. Lee, you sent us in a couple, and I have this one and another one right after this.
Hi.
Hey, Lee.
Yeah, so I just carved this guy. I don't know. I wanted a little pizza chef for in the kitchen, and I thought that this guy actually is pretty tough. So
Cutting in and out a little bit.
I just modified what I used to look like, and I gave him a rolling pin and a big smile, and he's painted with acrylics, and I carved him all with one knife, just the flex cut whittling jack. That's all I've been using lately.
Very good.
And then I don't know. There's another one there. I think I see.
Yeah, I just brought it up.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, so this is for St. Patrick's Day, a little leprechaun and his ladybug friend. That's all carved with one knife as well. Same pattern. I really like this one pattern. It's very versatile, I find. But I think I'm gonna have to start doing something different with the arms. They all kind of end up in the same position.
Okay.
So
Looks
oh.
good. Now, this
Yeah.
guy, you from your email note, you called this guy Rusty McTavern.
Oh yeah, Rusty McTavern. Yeah. So they have. If you look up leprechaun names on Google, it'll there's a thing and it shows like what's your leprechaun name. So it goes through it. Yeah, and you can, if you're a kid, it's for kids, and it'll be your first letter, and then it'll give you a first name, and then your last letter of your last name, or the first letter of your last name will give you another one. And I just picked the two names that I like the most for him. So
Very good.
Leprechaun names, yeah.
Good job. Now, for those that forgot, Lee, you can find him on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. He calls himself the Coffee Break Carver. Is that right?
Coffee break carving. But
Carving.
that's
So these are all done.
the
on his
only time I
coffee
have.
break.
So
Very good. Thanks, Lee.
thank you.
John, you want to speak to this one?
Yeah, this is Roger Seagull rough out that I took a whack at. This is what I call this guy.
Hobo Hank.
Hobo Hank, yeah. Hobo Hank travels around with his buddies and he likes to show off his gold tooth, which actually is gold. It's not paint, it's gold leaf I put on there.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's something different. So, yeah, that's Hobo Hank.
Very good. Is the hat separate or?
No.
So you carved that, you were able to carve that brow out of just the end grain. That's really good.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I'll bet it wasn't. That's nice, John.
Thanks.
Baz, I think you're on.
Yes, so this is the progress on the caricature I did last month. I presented. It was supposed to be a guy, a greasy monkey kind of guy, but it totally changed to become a fisherman. So I think it's our right as carvers, as we're progressing to a carving, to change our mind, and that's what I did. Yeah. So that's the progress up to now. Now I'm at the point where I'm gonna do the finishing on it, and I hope to have it ready for the end of the month to put it in. So it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it. And I found out that as much fun carving the actual caricature, the main subject, as to build the things that go around them. like he's sitting on a wooden box that I built, one of those crate box. I actually carve a little styrofoam box for worms. Made the actual fishing rod is actually a bamboo rod that I carved with a chopstick. It turned out to be, I had a chopstick, so I used that and it carved very well. Nice wood to carve, and I made that, and so it's a lot of fun. So stay tuned. I will we'll put it in and we'll see how it turns out.
Look, it's looking good.
Thank you.
A couple of thoughts since you're still in the process here. If you happen to take a look back at, I did a couple of carvings where they were on a bit of a deck, an old fashioned deck, right? And so ended up with planks along here. And that really looks nice on a carving like this. You've already got the piers in place. So if this was planked, you could easily do that by putting a very thin layer of basswood down and scoring it with the V tool to make it planked. It would really make it look good.
I know. So Mark, I'll tell you what my plan is I'm going to use my wood burner and reproduce the planks on that board. That's maple. The reason I'm going to do this, if I was at home in my shop, I'm away from Ontario right now.
Yeah.
But if I had the basswood, I would do that because I saw the one with the little dog on.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too. Yeah.
Really nice. But I don't have the wood here. That's all the wood I had.
Yeah, but you could easily do that, like you say. You could do that with your wood burner, even with the channel. Yeah. Looks really good, Bass.
Wood burning. And thanks for the idea. And if I had the wood, I would do it. But it's gonna. We'll see how it comes out.
It's looking good.
So I'm having fun.
Looking good. Bob, are you on the line tonight?
Yes, I'm using my wife's computer, so my name is Suzanne Prince.
We can go with that.
And I'm one of the guys that's in John Paul's carving club.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but these are just a couple of heads. I like primarily carving just heads. I really haven't evolved into the bodies as well. I find different heads and different woods is really what I focus on. The light colored one is that's just basswood, and it's just the head. And then I've mounted it on a walnut plinth. The other one, there's two pictures of that. That's mahogany, and it's a bit harder to carve, but it just has really nice color. I very seldom will use any paint on the things that I carve. I usually let the wood sort of bring out the details and things like that. And I'm one of these ones that I carve just about any kind of wood I can get my hands on. I've been carving heads probably since '91, and I started, using pieces of wood that I was able just to pick up along the way. And I've done heads in everything from lignum vitae to soapstone and everything in between. To I guess probably basswood's the easiest wood I've carved, and because I use scalpels, I don't I have quite a variety of chisels and things like that I use for other carving projects, but for doing these heads, I just like using scalpels. I put the handles, embed them in pieces of wood, and like something like this. That's a typical scalpel handle that I will use. And the blades, when I'm carving basswood, I can usually go quite a while because the wood's easy, and I'm used to knowing what I can torque on the blades, and I can carve for hours on one blade. When I'm carving now, I'm doing a piece right now. This is another one of those big-eared, big teeth. This is poplar. Now, if anybody's ever carved poplar, you know how hard that is. I'll go through 5 blades in one evening, just because it's harder wood, therefore it dulls the blade faster, and it just doesn't give you any freedom at all. You twist the blade a bit, and it's going to snap on you. But when you buy the blades in a box of $100 for $20, they're not that expensive. And like I said, I've got dozens and dozens of heads of all different sizes. There's one up behind me here. That's about a foot big. Here, I'll get it down. So this is a head that I'm working on here. And this is, I think this is elm.
Wow.
If you've never carved elm, you know how hard that is. Now I'll use big chisels on this, chisels and mallets and things like that. And on this one here, I'm actually going to put hair in this. And the hair I'm going to use is going to be, it looks like dreadlocks, and it's wool that you can buy at a fabric store. And I'll just drill holes and put the hair into it, and it'll look like a Rastaman kind of thing. But that's it for now.
Very good. They kind of remind me of the gargoyles you see in Notre Dame in Paris.
over in Britain.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration. I'll click on carved heads or things like that, and you'll get a lot of ones from medieval monasteries and cathedrals and things like that, or something somebody has done out of pottery and things like that. And I get inspired by that, and then I just take it from there, or I just come up with an idea.
Very good. Thanks, Bob.
Question for Bob. Where do you buy the scalpels?
If you know anybody, now you're from London, right, Richard?
Yes, I am.
There's a place out by the corner of Adelaide and Commissioners Road called CPC. It's Chiropodist and Podiatrist Canada. And now they sell them, they sell a box for about $35. But if you know anybody in the medical business, you can usually ask them saying, look, the next time you're buying supplies, can you pick me up a box of number 15s or number 11 blades? And they can get them wholesale or the industry price is around $20 to $25. And that's how I get them. I have somebody in the medical business that says, oh, I'll get them for you. And so I get them for about $20 a box. But number 15s and number 11s are the ones that you want to get. Number 11 is like that. So see the fine point on that? And then a number 15 is like that. It's got a little jackknife point on it. Make sure you get stainless steel blades. You can get carbon steel blades. They're probably a bit harder and a bit sharper, but they have absolutely no give. They will snap on you in a heartbeat. Stainless steel has a bit of flex to it, and it will last quite a long time. Okay. They're very, very sharp. I've got stones that are up to 6,000 grit and things like that, and I can put an edge on a carving chisel, but as hard as I try, I can't beat the edge that I can get on a scalpel blade when I peel it out of the little envelope it comes in. They're incredibly sharp. They cut very fast, and when they nick you, you actually stop and you look to see where you cut yourself, because it's just so clean. I try not to do that too often.
No, that's right. Okay, thank you, Bob.
My pleasure.
Okay, my system's real slow tonight for a reason, and I'm having trouble. Whoops. Let me try one more time here. I have one more slide here, if I could only get to it. There. John Paul.
Yes.
Why don't you say something about this slide?
I just finished a Mountie. I think it was yesterday. I finished painting him yesterday. You caught me off guard here, Mark.
I know you were snoozing.
Yeah. I just finished a little Mountie that I just finished carving. It's the same character that when we started out, the same body side or pattern that I use for this guy, most of these little guys, the same pattern, body pattern, and a separate head. I do a separate head and put a hat on, and I put in London, when I had my carving club on Wednesday, one of the gentlemen is a Mountie. So he was telling me what this pouch is for. This was handcuffs and extra bullets, and this is his bullets in here, or his gun.
Yeah.
And he was giving me some helpful tips on doing the carving. And
Very
making sure it
good.
was authentic.
Nice looking
John.
carving.
Thank you.
John, talk to
Yep.
me about your Wednesday carving club.
Tuesday.
I'm sorry, Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday night. Yeah.
Tuesday night. How does one get involved in that?
Just come down. Come down. It's on Horton Street. Horton and I forget the name of the road now. Horton and the main street there.
Yeah, Daniel lives in a different town.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, he
I'm
lives
only,
in Grand
yeah,
Bend.
yeah, I'm in Grand Bend, so it's not far.
Oh, good.
It's not that-
Horton
yeah, it's on
Street.
Horton Street. And what's the name of that street, Bob? The main street, anyway. And
It's in
Wellington.
between Richmond and Wellington on the south
Horton.
side of Horton. And yeah, just if you're coming from Grand Bend, just go straight down Richmond until you hit Horton. You go on the other side, the south side of the tracks. And as soon as you get underneath the tracks, hang a left, and it's like almost immediately to the left of or to the east of Richmond Street.
You don't have the address, do you?
I don't.
Oh.
No.
I'll get it for you.
Yeah, can you just send it to me via email?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that's good.
Thanks. That's great.
Okay, let's go on to,
Sorry.
sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I said the London Community Workshop on you can probably phone them and talk to Lori, and she'll set you up. But it's every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock.
Okay, so we'll move on
Right.
to tips, chips, and tricks. And so,
Mark,
yes,
I don't want to cut you off or anything like that, but I did want to ask. I only just joined you guys last month, was the first time, and I'm enjoying myself. It's good, but I did not have a chance to send you in any picture. But I did have a piece that I'm working on that I thought might qualify as caricature, and I wondered if I could just present on the camera and
you bet you can. Go
get
ahead.
some feedback.
Go ahead, Doug.
All right. I don't know if you want to take the presentation down to make it bigger,
Okay.
to
just
make
hang
the,
on. Yeah,
whatever
sure.
the presentation, right?
Yep, you go right ahead.
So find it there. Yeah, so
Perfect.
that is the inspiration. That's the carving. This is my first piece that I've been working on of this style. It's only about the fourth piece I've actually worked on as a carving. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's pretty much roughed in, and I was looking for advice on finishing. And like, do you finish down to fine details on one area first, or do you finish out all the blocking, all the roughing first, or just kind of do it all at once, or just looking for feedback on that?
Well, let's open it up to the group here.
I will start. And I would make sure that you rough in everything. Get everything all roughed in. You don't start detail. Like a lot of people start the detail a little early. Make sure you got everything in place. You got everything rounded where you want it. Then you start the detail. That's my advice.
Okay.
It's hard, a little bit hard to see just from this video feed, Doug, but it looks like you've already started to work on a fair amount of detail. Like you could, it'd be pretty easy to move in with a detail knife and just make some of those lines a little more crisp. But I think that's starting to look detailed to me. Looks like you want to probably put a lot more detail in the face and the beard, though, likely, right,
Yes,
Doug?
yes, the beard does need and the eyes I haven't even started as yet. I mean, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Most of it, a lot of these areas, it's about smoothing off the knife cuts, sanding, I think, and then getting in the creases in the cloth.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The pant creases and things like that.
Yeah,
but I got to smooth it first.
Yeah,
I
there's a few different views on that. Now, if you're listening, I'm sure you were listening when Alec was speaking. He likes to smooth his carvings out, and they look really good that way. I'm slightly of a different ilk, not right or wrong, but I like to see the knife marks. I like to see the individual planes, if you want. And so it really comes down to a personal preference thing. Some people use a combination of both. They use, like, for the clothes and what he's holding in his boots, the chipped look, all of the different planes of the cut, but for the face, they smooth it, so it's again, a personal preference, whatever you think looks good. And the thing is, you learn from carving to carving, right? You might do something on this one and make it without smoothing, and next one say, geez, I wish I had smoothed it. Well, you'll smooth that one, right?
Yeah.
But
Looking
so
good.
that's looking really good.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I believe that falls as a caricature.
I
does it?
think so. I think
We
so,
could
yeah.
Yeah.
fit that into the competition there. I'm intrigued.
We definitely will fit that into the competition.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave, or Doug. Okay, Dave is going to talk to us a little bit about dust control. So let's see if I can call this one up, Dave. I have 4 charts here, and you can walk us through these.
Sure. Okay. I wanted to have something. I have a big dust collector, same as you, Mark. It's got about a 5-inch hose on it. It'll draw about 550 cubic feet a minute. But I wanted something that was sort of out of my way. So all I did was I cut a hole. If you look at the left-hand slide, I cut a hole in my workbench and put a screen on the top so I can't drop tools down it. And the boot that's at the end of the 5-inch flexible hose, I cut a couple pieces of wood at an angle. I can just slide that in there very, very easily. And then if I want to use the boot and the vacuum device, the dust control device somewhere else, I just slip it out of there and move it over to a different location. When I'm not using the dust control, I just have a 1/8 piece of plywood. I just slide over the hole to keep anything from dropping into it. And it works really well.
How many tools still go down that grating?
I haven't lost any. Okay, if you look at the bottom one, the bottom picture here, this is a dust collection hood that I made that goes on top of my bench, and it's collapsible. I can adjust the wings. You can see the angle they're at on the bottom picture. If you look at the one on the right, they're spread out a bit more. If you look at the top left, the whole thing folds up, so it's only 1 inch wide, and I can take it off my bench and simply, I just stand it on its edge on the floor beside my carving bench, and it's out of the way. It's made out of acrylic sheet with acrylic hinges. You can get the hinges from an outfit called Kidder.ca. They're on Thornhill. They also have the solvent you use for it, because it's a solvent you use for acrylics. A little expensive from them, but you can buy a similar type of thing on Amazon. And it really helps funnel the dust down into my big dust collector. When I'm using the Fordham, if I'm using a rough a cut saw, coarse cut saw, you can see the little pieces of wood come up towards you and immediately turn and snap down the hole. And so it works really, really well.
Great idea.
Okay, this is, I wanted something I could take to our carving club, and obviously couldn't take the big one, but I just used things that I had, some material I had on hand. And this one is portable. It's about 11 inches wide by maybe a foot deep, and the tallest point, I guess, is about 16 inches. I used a bathroom exhaust fan. In hindsight, this one pulls about 90 cubic feet a minute. In hindsight, I probably would have liked to got a one that was more powerful. The blue you see in the left-hand picture, the blue you see in the front is just some furnace filter material that I found locally. The side pieces hinge and come forward. There, you can see it in the picture here. If you look in the middle picture, the 2 side pieces are rotated around from the side, and then there's a hinge top piece that stores in the back of the dust collector, and it just sits on top. And then the blue bar is simply a spline. If you have any kind of presentation material handouts you make, you can buy those at Staples. The picture on your right, that shows you the bathroom fan motor and the blue furnace filter material. The bag that's on the top is simply a pillow. And it's attached to a flexible 90-degree piece of aluminum ductwork, and I just swing it around at the back when I turn it on, and it blows everything out the back. You can see in the middle picture, it's operational there.
It runs off 110?
Yeah. It's just a fan you would use in exhaust fan for your bathroom.
Great idea.
And it works quite well. The only thing I said is I would try to go with a more powerful fan.
Right. I'm in the midst of building there's a gentleman on the internet who's had designed a couple of buckets from one of the local hardware stores, and you hook up your shop vac to this, and it all goes into this bucket, and nothing goes into the shop vac.
Right.
And I'm just in the midst of putting that together, but this looks like a really good idea. I like the idea you can carry it with you.
That's really slick.
Yeah, this thing's really handy. Huh?
Yeah. Okay, any other questions for Dave on that? Thanks very much, Dave. That's a really good tip.
Okay, you're welcome.
Furtis, you've done some work on assembling arms and some thoughts on reducing fibers on the carvings prior to painting.
Yeah, so in last month's meeting, I think it was Richard Holden who proposed that to put the arms and the head, attach them to the body to braid piece of wire. So in the left picture, you can see that what I did was for the carving that I was presented just earlier, I kind of braided a 14 gauge copper wire together, and I drilled holes in the hands and on the other side in the arm. I gouged out a little bit of wood from the arm, and then I kind of put it in, and it holded really well. I have to still put the 5-minute epoxy and put it together. I did the same thing with the head. I kind of gouged a little bit of wood out from the neck portion, and enough for the neck to go in. And at the same time, I kind of braided the wire, and I inserted the wire inside the head from the neck side. To put the body on the base, I did the same thing. I kind of drilled 2 holes in tight enough, snugly tight in the feet, and then I kind of drilled the hole in the base, and I braided 2 pieces of wire, and I put it there. It all holded really well all together.
And the copper wire in the head and the hands, that just gave you a little more flexibility. You're able to move things around to the right position, right? So you know where you want it before you epoxy it. Good.
Yeah. I didn't want to, I preferred not to put any like a piece of towel or anything, because then I had to go much deeper inside the head, inside the neck, or inside the arms. This worked out really well because you have to drill very small, like a thin, small hole in there. So I really like this idea.
I'm gonna give that a try as well. The other thing I like about it, Furtis, is because you've got it spiraled, that's really going to give the epoxy something to anchor into. I mean, that's going to be really secure.
Correct. That's right. That's right. On the right hand side, you see this Minwax water-based protective finish. I was when I was carving, I have this carving here. So when I was carving it, I was kind of having a problem. Wood fibers on the corners inside the house, inside the hand and the body, on both sides, and I was having a lot of problems. So Mark, I had a discussion with you, and I had sent you the picture, and based on what you proposed, I kind of applied a thin coat of this water-based finish, and it really helped. It kind of made the it kind of hardened the wood fibers, and when I used 20 grit sandpaper, it really knocked down the fibers, and it was also easy to clean up with the knife. So it kind of made it really nice and like hard, and it was cutting really well. So that was a good tip, and it helped me clean up the carving quite a bit.
Very good. Nice. Any questions for Furtis? Okay, thanks, Furtis.
Okay.
And John, you were gonna provide a tip around painting options. I got 2 slides here, this one and the next.
Okay, sometimes sometimes I can't figure out what color to paint the suit, or so what I do, I take a picture of the carving, which was this guy, and I color the photographs. Yeah, so I try the different suit colors or different ideas. I still ended up black, but but it was just fun to. I use watercolor pencils, and I just go over top of it, and green. Oh no, I went to the striped ones, look more like those what do you call those?
Barbershop quartet. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I decided brown, no, it didn't work. I went back to the black. But sometimes like the Mountie is going to be red and black. You don't have to do it. But sometimes if you get stuck, you don't know what color is going to, you don't want to paint it and say, oh, damn, I don't want it green now. I got to paint it more black. So this way I find it's a little easier step, and it's fun.
Good idea. Any questions for John? Okay, we got a few minutes left on the clock. Are there any other tips or tricks anybody'd like to share before we close?
I got another tip here.
Go for it. I'm going to stop the share here. Hold on. Okay, go for it.
Because I do my head separately. I screwed on. I have a carving handle that I carve all this, but I screw in the head into this carving handle, so it's already threaded. So what I do, I cut a screw off, and I put it at the bottom, and I glue that into the head, and then I screw that into the body. So I can turn it around and tighten it, and glue it in, and then tighten it down. I do that with hands. I use a number 8 for the head, and number 4 or 6 for the hands if I had to do a separate hand. And it seems to lock it in really good. That's my other tip.
Very good.
Just
folks,
sorry. Just a question for John. How far along did you get with the Valentine's Day? Did you?
I'm good.
You're good? Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
Yes.
I like it. Thank you.
Okay, folks, that was a good session tonight. Thanks very much for joining us. Lloyd, were you going to say something? Did I just cut you off?
I was just going to show you one quick, let me just find it here. I'm turning the camera around.
Yeah,
we were talking about painting and storing paint. I go to all these thrift stores and buy all the spice racks.
Oh,
nice.
Up
for $2 or $3. And that's where I put all my paints.
What a good idea.
Looks good too. Looks really good.
Okay, that was it.
That's a great idea. You know, thanks to us, there's going to be a run on Howard's Feed and Wax and a run on spice racks. Okay?
Books.
And books, you're right. Okay, thanks a lot, folks. That was a real great session. Really appreciate you guys dialing into this. Have fun with your carvings. There's plenty of time yet to send me in a carving that we'll include in our little show, and that should be a lot of fun as well. So have a really good month, and we'll talk again soon, okay?